What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really Iron Man, Mr. Stark?
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Roddykat. You can find me at crap. I just noticed something I just did. You can find me at Roddykat on Blue Sky and Twitter. I just messed myself all up. Start over again. Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Comic Book Chronicles. Don't have to do the thing. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings. Glad to be back with you, talking pop culture, comics, shows, movies, and more.
Where you from?
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn.
Indeed. Sorry for that buffering there for a second, folks, but it is late. But what is not late is that you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play or Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cold Slither Podcast Network's SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
I don't think you can find us on Pandora, but that would be funny if you could.
Yeah, right?
I knew that was going to happen. Folks, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get right into this. That keeps happening, but anyway, into the show with talking about this week's episode of Monarch Legacy of Monsters, Season 2, Episode 9, called Ends of the Earth.
Wow. Monarch, Season 2, Episode 9. Or is it 8?
I thought it was 9. Is it 8? Oh, Lord. Now I gotta look again. Oh, what? Shout out to Von Gloom. We are not on Movie Protocol this week, but soonish. Soon-ish. Yeah, no, it's 9.
Oh, my bad. See, what I didn't do is do some pre-show prep because we were a little pressed for time because of some technical issues. So give me 1 second. Alrighty.
Oops.
The episode is called A Question of Time. So this is what I do remember very well.
Wait, huh?
About.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah. It's a question of time, right? So what we have in this episode is a couple of cool reveals, right? And also some timey-wiminess, right? And Roddykat is, being the fan of of Doctor Who, introduced me to this particular term, the timey-wiminess of everything. And this particular episode, fills in some of the gaps. We have some flashbacks involving Keiko and Bill Randa, who, when I see the actor cast as Bill Randa, I've mentioned this before, it's hard to imagine him as John Goodman in his later years.
And yet they tried it.
Well, it just is. I can't help but stare at the screen because you see William Randa at some point sporting basically a full beard in this flashback scene, and I'm trying to put an X number of additional pounds on this man to try to picture John Goodman, and it's just not working.
Right.
But ultimately, we get this, and we get to see that, this particular relationship, this love that he has for Keiko really did endure the loss of her to Axis Mundi, and there's a discovery that Lee, Shaw, and Keiko make on Skull Island while they're searching for a way to send Titan X back to Axis Mundi. That kind of shows proof of this, there's actually a sad discovery during the search, right? Because it's actually a callback to something that happens at the beginning of Kong Skull Island. And I
Almost
honestly
full
thought,
circle.
right, and I honestly thought they were both in danger when they were walking in that field, in that graveyard, right? I was like, wait a second. I remember what happens when people walk through this graveyard. This is not a good place to be.
But to be fair, it was kind of well after the fact though, so things
Right.
had
But
changed. I totally understand, because I thought about that
because
for a
I was
second.
having flashbacks. I was like this, covering my eyes, like, are we gonna get those things again? And I think what I'll end with is something I mentioned to Roddykat, which is at the end of the episode, we get Kentaro falling prey to some timey-wimey temptation that is tried and true. It's not something that is unheard of, and we'll see how this plays out in the last episode of season 2 of Monarch. With that, I'm handing it to Roddykat.
And honestly, I feel like he's pulling a Kate, because I feel like if it was the other way around, she would have absolutely have been the one to suggest to come with that suggestion. So I'm kind of glad they didn't. Kind of where it was like, okay, you clearly know these people are related, because they're both similarly have similar delusions in a way at times. But yeah, I do love the fact that we ended up going back to the beginning where all of this started with that whole thing with Keiko and Shaw. Sad as it was, because like, well, you know what? I'm kind of glad to close the loop on it, because but also it kind of was like, wow, clearly when Kong Skull Island happened, there was no reasoning that we knew of, and I'm almost fairly certain they ginned it up for this to kind of bring it back full circle, because we didn't know why he was there. We just know he was there. It was just one-off character that happened to meet his end there for reasons that ended up coming kind of sort of clear, but at the same time it's like, well, this is just one-off dude, so all right. And then this whole show, they turned it with something and brought it back around. So I was like, oh, okay. That was I applaud them for that, because I'm pretty sure this was not what they were thinking about back then. I'm fairly certain of that. So, but yeah, they tried it with trying to make Billy look a little bit more like John Goodman minus the weight. So it's like, you know what? That's a good hustle. It ain't working, but that's a good hustle. But yeah, we get Isabel Simmons's plan for what she revealed, which, people were going back to Skull Island anyway, just in chase. Tim's kind of having a moment of in chargeness, and maybe he's coming into his. We don't know. May still look kind of cute, and with her Iris West ass.
Oh no.
Okay, that's the one good thing you can say about that movie. That's the movie I still haven't seen, by the way, but still, yeah, that was that thing. But yeah, the more MonsterVerse stuff. We see a little bit more of a couple of Titans here and there, including, well, it's not even including, y'all know the ones that were associated with all of this that we were talking about. So, and the question is still out there as to whether this is going to end up going into a movie or one of the other movies that are already out. just that part is still unclear. Or they're just kind of keep it in this separate Agents of Shield type pocket, and maybe loosely where movie stuff will come back into this, but not go the other way around. So, but we shall see. The show's still amusing. I feel like there's still a couple of unanswered questions with some side stuff, but I'm at this point not sure if it even matters. So, but that being the case, we are going to move on to the next show that we talk about, which is Star Wars Maul Shadow Lords, episode 7 and 8, which are called Call to Oblivion and The Creeping Fear.
Yes, so these two, because they're coming out in pairs, this is essentially the penultimate parts of the story before the big 2-part finale, right? So there's a lot of setup here. There's a lot of getting us to a point where there's going to be kind of the big conflict that gets at least resolved at the end of this season. So it's there's a lot going on. I thought the flow of these particular episodes was really good. The season has been pretty good so far, I think, and I think it's actually a pretty compelling story for kind of a not a side. I don't want to belittle it and say it's a side quest, but it kind of is. These are side stories of what's happening to Darth Maul in between Solo and where he finds himself at some point during Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Right.
and there are definitely references to Solo in this. So, basically, putting that in the backpack right there for the next couple of episodes, or for the next, because we know there's going to be another season, so we don't know how long. Whether they're going to stretch it out past it to 2-second seasons or let those be that.
Right.
What was I going to say? Actually, go ahead. You guys were saying it?
No. I mean, I'll leave it to you because I know you're gonna follow up with some more detail. But there's a couple things I wanted to mention. One of them is, I'm always struggling to remember what Serrano's Jedi name is.
Master
And then-
Daki.
Right. But then I remember it's a 3-part name. I'm like, no, it's Iko Wane. No, it's Iko Diodaki. My
Right.
God.
I was like, I'll just stop committing those first 2 names and just leave it to the last one. I'm like, I'm sure he'll forgive me for this one.
Right. And I thought that I want to say it was during the Creeping Fear episode where Maul is kind of hallucinating a little bit as he's damaged and trying to make his way back to his compatriots, his fellow gang members, basically.
Mhm.
And he hallucinates that he hallucinates back to the events of Phantom Menace.
And among
and
other
there's
things,
some
but
great,
yes.
right, and no, but there's what's funny is that there's some great audio cues
Mm-hmm.
of the final battle with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan
Mm-hmm.
that come up, and like it forces you to focus on your memories of what you're hearing. And I really appreciated that. And with that, I'll hand it off to Roddykat for a more in-depth analysis.
And actually, I'm glad you said that, because also what you're seeing in that, because like the stuff with the stuff they flash back to, you saw in the Clone Wars, a good bit of it also, as well as Phantom Endings. And I was like, well, wait, did that actually go the way that is presented here, or they just kind of paraphrased it? Because as we saw in the beginning of the second episode, which ended basically as a continuation of of episode 7, in the flashback part of it, how they do the previously on, and then they do that, and then they get to where the last part of the episode previously, but they add on to it from that. I was like, wait, I know that didn't happen, but they just kind of just ran it into the actual story and then threw the title card in there. So that's kind of amusing. So there's a couple of things I just wanted to call out really, really quick, because we most of both of these episodes are, Lawson and the group basically trying to, it's not necessarily a heist, but they're basically trying to get to someone so they can get them out of custody, someone close to one of them, but also trying to get out of Dodge, find a way to get out of Dodge. All the while, like Agent 70 said, Maul's having his hallucinations, trying to get back to his people. The Inquisitor is basically around, even joined by another Inquisitor, which I had to look up because I was like, that is not who I know that I feel like I think it is, because that person was not even of this era. But we have seen the other Inquisitor that comes in before. In fact,
you mean with the longer mask, right?
Yes.
I didn't know who that was. I was trying to figure out who that was. I was hoping you do.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes. So, well, I guess that depends on whether you saw the Tales of the one of those Tales of the whatever shows.
No, I did.
Yeah. So we saw where he ends up in one of those. To put it this way, fighting someone that we definitely know. So yeah, there's a couple of people that I think in the show that we might have seen, like, oh yeah, well, actually, yeah, excuse me, Merrick, the other Inquisitive, because we basically end up seeing what ends up happening to him before we see him, because this definitely is the first time we may have supposedly have seen these two in this time frame, basically, because we've seen them in later time frames, in Star Wars history. So, but going back on something else real quick that you were saying, the funny thing about it is that I was reminded recently that if Lucas, if they used what Lucas had proposed for the sequel trilogies that we gotten, we would have definitely gotten more Maul. And this story right here probably wouldn't have happened because some of it would have been there in the trilogy. So, but because we get this, and I think Filoni might have said, or it came out, or whatever, that Filoni wanted to use some stuff, and that's why it's in here as well. So, but because, like I said, they did what they did with the sequel trilogy. This was scrapped, or this was not on the table anymore. So, which in some respects might have been better, or not. Maul would have definitely have still come back, so it would have been still like didn't he get cut in half? There would have been some of that, but we got that anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Von Gloom's ad says that didn't realize that Maul had so much baggage. Yeah, I mean, we have seen him in various states of it's a little strong, but psychosis back in during the Clone Wars. So, he's definitely had a lot on him.
We're all going to burn. Or something like, you're all going to burn. We're all going to die.
Right. Now, there was the first part where he was kind of his first bit of hallucination was kind of new to me because it seemed like there was a little bit of self-hate there. Maybe that was already there, but the rest of it was like, yeah, that makes sense because that tracks with how we've seen him in the past. Also, Von Gloom says that damn droid is infuriating. I'm going to assume you're talking about Two Boots, but he's just a droid, man. Just.
How did you recognize me? I don't have my boots on. Lord. Good Lord.
Yeah, couldn't be by that, but the very distinctive voice of yours also. But so yes, Von Gloom, we talked about that last week. Also, Von Gloom asks, does Lawson's accent continue to shift? And yes, it does. It's going to continue to shift. In fact, he's basically been stuck on Latin flavored accent in these last couple of episodes. But yes, they have definitely been shifting this during this whole series.
Right, it comes out more when he's stressed.
So yeah, we it's a definite thing that we have noticed during this whole thing. Whether there's a reason for it, don't know. But speaking of Lawson, he's a pretty good shot. And only bringing it up is because we were kind of wondering, and I think we may or may not have talked about this, but there have been some glimpses of his background in the last couple of episodes of, how he knows, not necessarily how he knows some of the things, but you know, he might not have known Jedi's right off the bat, but he is familiar with it because because of his previous his previous occupation could have possibly put him in the line of one or two at some point if it had happened. So, but yeah, that's during like that, and we found out that Devin, as amusing as she is a pretty good driver. You know, all Fast and Furious like some would say.
Yes, I definitely was getting the Fast and Furious vibe. I have to commend the animation for that chase sequence. That chase sequence was animated extremely well.
And the fights continue to be as well. But yeah, that's absolutely the case. So they really stepped it up with the animation on this show. So it's cool. And a little bit of flourishes as well. So that's cool. Von Gloom says he reminded me of Golem in that first scene. Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think that might have been a point, but there was a point in Clone Wars where he was actually like that. So that's a good pickup on that, kind of going back to that moment. But yeah, that's pretty much the Star Wars Maul. Like I said, last couple of episodes are coming next week, which is actually kind of funny because I believe everything we are talking about this week is going to end next week.
Yeah.
Because it'll be the last episode for the season for Monarch, the last two for Maul, and what we're about to get into might be the last. It will definitely be the last episode of Daredevil Born Again, season 2, episode 7, which is called the Hateful Darkness.
It's a great title.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see. I'm just pulling up some notes, some articles here. So I do remember exactly what happened here. You know, I'm going to hit the highlights, and Roddykat will fill in some of the blanks. We have a few more characters reaching the end of their story arcs.
Yes.
You know, specifically, a character who, at least to this point, doesn't have a root in the Marvel Comics canon, at least as far as I know. And I'm trying to think, is there another character that I was thinking of that also kind of reached their story end? Oh, I guess at least in terms of a story end, right? It wouldn't, not necessarily the end of their existence. Spoiler alert. I feel that Bullseye reaches a point in this episode where he might be going out on a relatively high note, you know, to be possibly picked up in future seasons and or future MCU projects. We also have the return to the courtroom, right? Again with the tribunal setup, but the person on trial is the person who's captured at the end of last episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big surprise, quote unquote. It's not that big a surprise. You can kind of see it coming, but there's a big surprise in terms of who is defending this character, and that's kind of where we leave off at the end of the episode. What did you think, Roddykat?
Yeah, I think it was a fairly decent episode. There's a couple of things that you kind of figure like, okay, well, there's a part here that comes up later on, but you don't know how it's gonna show itself until you start getting into things. So yeah, starting with the person that got caught at the end of last episode, we see they get them getting booked, charged, and visited. Which you would think that person would have a sense enough not to get that close to the person that visited them.
Yes! I'm like, those are just bars that are kind of wide apart.
Right. And all you got to do is just yank.
It's pretty silly. It's pretty
You know,
silly.
you know, you know
Like,
that character,
spatial awareness,
right?
like you need a little bit of spatial awareness here,
Right. Like I get it. You're not scared of them. I get it. But you know what the person is capable of.
Yeah.
Whether first or second hand, you know what they're capable of. What were you thinking? But, didn't quite go that way. So, but yeah, for the rest of it, it's like, there's the trial, as Agent 70 mentioned, and it is as much of a spectacle, or just pretty much as much of a spectacle as the last trial was with Swordsman. We do also, get to revisit it because I mean she's already shown up once, so it's not that big of a spoiler. Jessica Jones kind of comes back into play, and I'm still kind of wondering about something about the person she goes to see, because it was mentioned before, but I don't did this person or the character show up in her series? Or is it one of those things that's like with the daughter, like, yeah, this stuff happened off camera,
Kind
between
of off
seasons, and
camera.
yeah,
Yeah, kind of off camera. Yeah.
I kind of wondered. But there's also a link to speaking of, there's also a mention of someone else. Once again, another Netflix MCU leaning person gets actually mentioned. Um, uh,
Well, actually, another one actually appears in the jail scene at the beginning of the episode.
well, yes,
Like,
that
talk
too.
about a flashback. I was like,
Right,
oh wait, that's actually the guy. They
right,
actually mined the character. They brought that character back.
right. It was like, oh, they brought
And
this
the
dude back, because
actor.
it took me a
Yeah,
second. It took me a second to remember. I was like, oh, that dude.
absolutely. I was shocked and happy that they brought this particular character back just so just to make sure the guy gets some work.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe he'll be back. Who knows? But
Mhm.
for the most part, some things kind of happen with and or around the trial. Um, Matt. I feel like there was the one part Matt was like, "Dang, I can't suit up because all these people are around. I mean, because one or two people are around that would, I can't let them know," type situation. But that being the case, and yeah, a character does end up coming to the end of their time with this show in a way that might be reminiscent of a way their parent might have gone out, their
Mm.
actual parent, not like well, excuse me, their actual parents show would have done, put it that way, to where they're yeah, that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Which was kind of sad, because it's like, man, I didn't too much care for the character all that much, but you can see the other character was having a moment with it. But, you know, I was just hoping somebody else wasn't just going to do what I thought they were going to do. It was like, no, wait, don't do it. Ugh, you dumbass. But that didn't happen either. So,
Well, I was about to say, did you touch on the slappy slap?
yeah, oh, get into that. Yes. So that was a real funny scene between, I don't know if I want to say the name, but basically, I'll say it, whatever. Karen Page and Heather Glenn had
Mhm.
a scene where they were basically mentally sparring with each other, and the nerves were touched on, and even some hands were
Right.
some faces were touched on in that. So it just kind of had me giggling. I'm like, okay, a little more, but but also it was like, okay, that was a pretty funny scene in itself. Like, you can see when a character cracking more, put it this way,
Yeah,
within that.
definitely.
There has been a speculation that she might become the character that harassed her.
Right, right. And I've heard the same, because I was initially, well, going back to the first season, very
Mhm.
disappointed that they decided to do the MCU thing and get rid of this particular character, as
Right.
opposed to, finding a way to have them, escape and then come back at some point. But that's the way TV and movies are written. Sometimes people have to go, to the supervillain graveyard in the sky. So
Yeah, sadly.
that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it is definitely a potentially a waste of a potentially good character in
Right.
in this whole situation. So, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, there was it seemed like, well, maybe like I said, the person and the character possibly could have come back some sort of kind of weird way. I mean, hey, Bullseye kind of did. But you
Right.
know, different situation, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Daredevil. Von Gloom going back to Star Wars Maul says, lying Trixies, Jedi take apprentice away from Maul. Palpatine take everything away from Maul. So, but yes. It's some of that was in there. I for some part of me before I looked at going back to Daredevil, before I looked at the the episode count, thought it was 10 episodes, and I might even actually even said that last week. So, and I was like, no, it's 8.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is going to be the last one of this season. Um, are they going to give us the okie doke like they did last time? Last time, probably not, because we already know, like at the very least, at least one person's set up. And you know, all of the Easter egg folks are like, yeah, well, we know XYZ kind of made it out of this, so because we saw them in another trailer, an MCU leaning trailer.
Right.
So you know, you can infer at the very least two or three things coming out of the season, which
Right.
seem like is going to be the case.
Right. And just bear in mind that the Punisher special is going to come out the week after.
Yep.
So 2 weeks from now, a week after the season finale of Daredevil Born Again.
Which also reminded me that I'd never actually watched the seasons, either one of the seasons, or yeah, it was 2 seasons. I did not watch that show.
Oh, the Netflix Punisher? I
Right.
gotcha.
And also reminded me of the other shows that I hadn't either watched or finished watching, because it was like I didn't know Jessica Jones had 3 seasons. I didn't know Punisher had 2 seasons. I thought just had one. So and X, Y, and Z. So yeah, maybe I'll do a little bit of not you don't necessarily. I wouldn't believe that you would need any homework before going into that Punisher special, but
Right.
I might try to do it either way, just for sake. We'll see if it happens, you know. But that, folks, is it. Oh wait, we have an episode of Invincible. Just kidding, because there was no Invincible this week because that season is over.
Right,
But
right. We did have an episode of The Boys.
yes, I was going to get to that, but yes.
Yeah. I know you. I know you were. I'm sorry to step on your toes.
No,
on that
you're
one.
good. You're good. It was going to happen one way or the other. We were going to get there, but I had to kind
Right.
of shoehorn in that Invincible thing.
So, the episode was titled One Shots. This is episode 5 of the fourth or fifth season, and we're following the stories of some of the characters who maybe don't get the closest pursuit in regular storylines or in the regular episodes. One of the characters that we follow is Firecracker. Another one, because we're seeing a particular side story play out. We're also seeing the story of Terror, which is Butcher's bulldog, English bulldog, right? So it definitely reminded me of Pizza Dog story from Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, and we also have a very guest appearance, cameo appearance, heavy story with Soldier Boy and Homelander that involves many actors who I'm not necessarily fond of, who are definitely punchable. Um, uh, Except all except for oh my goodness, I can't remember some of their names are escaping me because it's late and I'm tired. Let's see here. Where do they have their guest appearances? Oh, cameo. Seth Rogen, Kumail Nanjiani, Will Forte, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and Craig Robinson, right? You know, a lot of these people, well, specifically Seth Rogen and Mintz-Plasse, have eminently punchable faces for me, and you know, they meet particularly boys appropriate fates, you know, in their guest appearance, but they're playing themselves. So, but the bottom line here is, you know, we're moving forward. I didn't necessarily think this this episode carried forward too many of the stories. I think the only character whose story, as I mentioned in the Daredevil Born Again quickie review, was that we saw a couple of characters here also reach the end of their story arcs, and one of them was the very first character that I mentioned. You know, one of the female members of the Seven. So, you know, we're definitely moving. We're moving along at a good clip. I believe this is also an 8-episode season. So, you know, we are just about past the halfway point. We have 6, 7, and 8 left.
Gotcha. Apparently Von Gloom in the chat has a Jonah Hill story because he says like Jonah Hill, if I see him in the Lower East Side again, I'm gonna return that exaggerated scared look that he gave me.
Oh no.
Okay, or maybe it wasn't exaggerated. I don't know, but that's kind of wild.
That's funny.
Yeah. Also, neither one of us like Jonah Hill, so if you feel like, you know, you gotta, you know, feel free. You know, talking about punchable faces.
Yeah, right.
But so yeah, that's that was the boys apparently. That was something I was gonna ask you about that with that but it's irrelevant because I did see that Kumail not Matt coming here with the Let's Go Knicks. What up, Matt?
Yes, let's go Knicks. The Knicks basically won by like 100. I mean, it wasn't 100, but half of 100, which is crazy in the playoffs.
That's funny because I have in the last 24 hours I have seen both Let's Go Nick and F Knicks in the last 24-hour period. So that's some funny mess. Maxwell Lord has a very punchable fight. Are we talking DCU version, the Pedro Pascal version, or are we talking like comic book version of Maxwell Lord? And also, Matt, I'm actually glad you're here. I'm mad that I did not reach out to you because there is a story that we have in the news that I thought about you on, and I wish you could have been here for it. But so if you're going to be around for the news later on, which I don't know is already late, then I would like your take on it. But that being the case, folks, good to have you folks here, friends of the show. Appreciate you. We are actually going to get into the comic books of the week, comic version. Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, well, I can't say that I have the affinity for comic version Maxwell Lord because I haven't really read much of the stuff that he was prominent in. So, but I don't doubt one way, shape, or form. But that being the case, folks, we are going to get into comic books of the week, like I said, with Gatchaman Red Impulse #1 of either 3 or 4.
There you go. Gatchaman Red Impulse #1. We believe it's a 4, published by Mad Cave. It's written by Steve Orlando with art by Ricardo Robaldo. Really? His name is Ricardo Robaldo? We're making rhymes. Dropping bars. Colors on this book are by Rebecca Nolte, and letters are by Frank Kvitovic. The Red Impulse character apparently leads the support group, you know, that are basically flying, you know, backup for the Science Ninja team. Is this a creation of in the anime?
That's a good question because I'm not entirely sure, and it's one of those things that almost had me looking up a wiki or something to see if that was the case.
Right.
Also, it reminds me of, okay, well, clearly it sounds like a cross between the Blackhawks, DC's Blackhawks, and in one way, shape, or form, Racer X from Speed Racer. As we find out a familiar connection to a character that just shows up at the beginning of this. So I don't know. That'll be something to find out. I'm kind of going on the assumption that it's new, but again, anytime we make that assumption, is usually the other way, because I don't feel like the anime would have. Well, the anime had gone that way, but again, there's like 100 episodes, so so ain't no telling. It could have could have been the case.
Well, in any event, we do have a reveal in this issue, that's big. I made a Darth Vader joke with Roddykat earlier, and with that, I'll hand it off to him for his thoughts on this.
Yeah. It was a pretty true. I mean, like, I presume with this miniseries, just like with like Thundercats Lost or the Apex books or whatever, any of those other side books of Thundercats, maybe this character and this and or these characters, because I think there is another character coming in the next issue. Maybe they're going to filter into the Gatchaman book at some point, because realistically, we kind of saw a side of, not necessarily a side of this group, but we've seen that, hey, there are the other people involved with this outside of Gatchaman and like Galactor. Now, we did not know that these people, were here in the capacity that they are in. Basically, another kind of support-ish group to the group. The not necessarily the wet works group, but the they do more of the dirty work that the Gatchaman doesn't do. They as was said in this issue, Gatchaman is the public faces. They get the parades and stuff, and these other people get the get the job done, to get the dirty work done. So like maybe we'll see them going forward. Who knows? But after a little bit of Top Gun action, with one of the Gatchaman, we see a little solo mission with this. I don't know if this person's name is Red Impulse or the group is called Red Impulse. I'm assuming it's both, just like Gatchaman is kin, but also that's the name of the group. So I'm presuming that is the case. But yeah, we see this, this mission goes down as they kind of, they come across a trap before Gatchaman does, basically, and gets rid of it before Gatchaman happens to come through. And yes, we do see some Galactor business rolling up in here. So pretty much everybody you see on the cover, if you're watching the video version, shows up in this book. And there is that. Also, before he's probably long gone by now, but yeah, Wang said he was out, but Wang will comment later. Make good decisions, which is kind of funny because I've been saying that more recently lately to when I get out of people's chats. So that's pretty funny. But yeah. This is, I don't know. It's interesting. We'll keep up with this, as we have been with the Gatchaman stuff. Whether it comes back into the primary book, we'll see. And what's going to become of whatever happens in these 3 episodes, or whether this is, something new they're setting up, or something that was already set up that they're just throwing back into mythos. I assume we will find out at some point. We shall see. That being the case, we go on to the next book that we have in common, which is... I was going to try to say it backwards, and it's not going to work. That's not even going to try it. Zatanna, #1.
That's always one of my struggles when I'm reading any book that has a lot of Zatanna in it. And obviously with this book being with her being the lead character, there's going to be a lot of the backwards BS, right? But you know what? You have to kind of allow it. So Zatanna, #1, published by DC, is written and has art by Jamal Campbell, multi-talented. The book is also lettered by Ariana Mar. I was initially drawn to this book. I even picked up a physical copy of it because the art I thought was really good. Right? The story, Roddykat and I were talking about it. I think I'm willing to give it a little bit of rope to see where it goes. It's very let's just say it has echoes of a particular resident of Bleecker Street in New York. It definitely has echoes of that kind of story because Zatanna apparently has taken a title, right, that seems to have certain responsibilities attached to it, and that leads to what's going on in this story. To me, I think the biggest highlight is the art. That Jamal Campbell's doing an excellent job here at one, design, and two, storytelling. Right, there's some really great panel design and layout work here, where the storytelling is really emphasized and really kind of drawing your eyes from around the page to track the action and to see what's going on. I think it's done very well. So I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts on this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm also going to say I have been, for the most part, loving in the last, I'm going to say, decade or so, that there are a lot of, or at least enough primarily known artists that have picked up writing. We've got the Dekhanshavi, Chip Zdarsky. I think Jamal Campbell's probably been doing it for probably longer than all of that. But there's been other folks who were like, yeah, Peach Momoko, I guess, is also in that. That have gone away, not necessarily gone away from artists, but kind of, hey, we can write the story as well as
they've kind of stretched into this form.
Right. And as actually as I'm pretty sure that's as Von Gloom says, Campbell is an American mangaka essentially. So yeah, there's it's kind of a little bit of that kind of happening. That's the thing that's been happening in the last few years, which is kind of cool. Hey, get that bread, I mean, granted, it puts a lot more on you. I mean, unless you're, if you are like Jamal Campbell here is doing the art and the writing, because that puts something up. But at the same time, it kind of, it streamlines some things because, like, well, you already know the story because you wrote it, so you can definitely, you can definitely do the art on it. So, or you are definitely doing the art for it because it's your story, so you're gonna get it like you want it. But that being said, yeah, I didn't necessarily have the issue with the story that Agent 70 is. I did also think, yes, it is very strange, but and we were kind of wondering before the show, was like, okay, so is this a development that happened prior to this, or or the development of her new station something that is happening here? Because while there was a previous Zatanna miniseries of which neither one of us either finished or read. Like I read a little bit of it, but I didn't finish it. And Agent 7 had not read it. That I remember. And you said, wait, you did you didn't.
Not at all.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's what I thought. So whether this is something that came out of that or something that's been going on, like that's come out of whatever's going on in the DC universe, with recent events, then that is something I guess we'll have to find out, or like I said, just let it roll for what it is.
Right. The impression I got was that, she had a role in DCKO and they used that to springboard into an ongoing.
Right.
An ongoing solo. So,
right, which they've done with a few characters coming out of it, because they said that was that whole all-in push that they were just kind of throwing characters out there. I guess that's how we got that Firestorm book, even though I don't recall Firestorm having, that whole big a big to do with it. Like I think she's had more to do in DCKO from what I remember than Firestorm did. So, but that's what they're doing. Regardless, I don't know. I enjoy Zatanna as a character. So I'm going to, at the very least, check out a couple of issues of this and see what's going on in this and whether any of it's going to be, either pertinent to her or the Magic universe at large. Because there was a question that come up in the book was like, yeah, the Justice League handled this kind of stuff. You know, the Lanterns handle stuff out of space. Who handles magic? And I was like, isn't that Justice League Dark's whole thing?
Whatever happened to them?
Right. That's the other thing, because I know they've been around fairly recently. Like they popped up fairly recently, but you know, just like they normally do, like they pop up and then it's like, all right, gone away again.
Right. I was going to add that the closest that I've ever been to understanding, or at least following the character of Zatanna, was probably during Justice League Unlimited.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Actually, similarly, that's actually why I ended up appreciating her a little bit more because of that.
Right. I mean, we all still remember the episode where she was helping Batman try to cure Wonder Woman of being turned into a pig.
Mm-hmm. And we found out that Batman had pipes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Am I blue?
Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. But yeah. So you know, so anytime I see a issue or a book that's centered around Zatanna, I'm at the very least check it out to see what's going on. You know, see what they do with her. You know, that being the case. So yeah, we'll see how it shows up, because there's a couple of things in this book that was like, I don't know if that's new or if that's you know, like I said, that's been there and I just not noticed, or we just not noticed. We shall see. Next book though that we have to talk about is sadly leaving, but we already knew it was going away. Planet She-Hulk number 6.
Planet She-Hulk number 6, the final issue of this miniseries, is written by Stephanie Phillips, with art by Emilio Lazo and Aaron Cooter. Colors are by Sonia Obach, and letters are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So as Roddykat mentioned, right, we already knew that this was going to be the last issue of this miniseries, of this series. And you know, this is a premature ending for this book because you know, the powers that be, the powers that be at Marvel decided to cut off whatever push they were giving to all of those books that had spun out of Imperial. And the effect of that kind of short-circuiting is that all the stories that were meant to go on for X whatever number of issues were forced to pivot to shorter stories that ended sometimes rather abruptly. And I think in this issue, we get a rather abrupt ending that Stephanie Phillips tries to fashion into a type of story that we have seen before, right? Where it's told in somewhat of a flashback sequence. And you know, we're caught in media res, right? Like in the middle of the action, or towards the middle, or towards the end of the action even. And we're taught, or we're told the story in flashback, and we're also left with kind of a cliffhanger, leaving these characters in a different place that may or may not ever be picked up on in, you know, future installments of She-Hulk. And I'll hand it off to Roddykat for his thoughts.
Right. But us, or I feel like I can say us, just like the writer of the story put in at the end of this, hopefully it's a tantalizing enough cliffhanger that, you know, the powers that be and or people, there was enough people that will make some noise to say, hey, we want to see what happened after this. Right. You know, to bring She-Hulk back. And I'm very much kind of hoping that as well. Because it's an interesting premise that we are left on. The funny part about this issue was it didn't actually go fully the way that I thought it was going to go initially, because as Agent 70 said, it's being told as in flashbacks. I'm still under the impression that maybe she already that this was where she was going with this, no matter how long the story was going to be. But I don't know. I don't know if it's like, it definitely seems like it could have been fashioned, you know, it was like, well, all right, I know that, so now I'm gonna have to change what I was doing, you know, and end it in a way. So we don't know. That would be a question for the writer. because we have seen where there are cases of like, well, the writer already know how they're going to end it. It's just a matter of getting there with all the stuff that they were putting in before that. But who knows? I'm sure Agent 70 will see her before I will. Maybe he'll ask her. Don't know.
I mean, the way I saw it, the way I interpreted it,
Mhm.
especially given who does the art, right?
Mm-hmm.
It looked like Emilio Lazo did like the framing sequence, and they rejiggered the art that Aaron Cooter did for the bulk of the issue to fit the narrative that Stephanie Phillips put together to kind of wrap the story up.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
I
could
think
very well
that
be.
this story, right. I think this story probably fit a little bit differently, and they used the art that had been produced to kind of they adjusted the story right into and kind of jammed it into the art in a sense.
Right. Right. So, like I said, that would still be a question for which way that went for the writer if it ended up being that pertinent. But regardless, it's I would say a potential click of the week for me. I do hope they kind of I do hope Stephanie Phillips and She-Hulk will return as they would like to do with the MCU. But the most of the time that I was reading this issue kind of had me thinking,
Should I stay or should I go?
or more to the point, whether Jen was actually going to do that or not. With especially with the way the story that was going, because it could have ended up one way or another, even with where the story was mostly set. But it seemed like it it very well ended where I guess we kind of thought it was going to be, but I didn't see the scene that I thought was going to happen coming out of it. So, which I guess that also leads credence to the fact that it might have just been like Agent 70 said, and it was like, yeah, they just kind of rechanged it to just go ahead and end it the way they did. So, it is what it is. Planet She-Hulk was a good book. Hopefully, like I said, we'll see Jen again. We'll see Stephanie Phillips writing her again. And we'll see what happens with what happens at the end of that, because I would love to see more with those two together. Personally. And with that, we are going to get to the last book that we have in common, which is Ultimates number 23.
Ultimates number 23 is written by Dennis Camp with art by Stepan Morian. The art, I think it's on the artist on Bleeding Hearts is I believe the Vertigo book. It's the same artist. And letters on this book are by VC's Travis Lanham. So in broad strokes, this is the story of Ragnarok, but in this Ultimate universe. Right, and the events of Ragnarok in the Marvel Comics versions that have been told before tend to echo but not mirror the story of Ragnarok in the traditional Norse mythology, and that that goes the same for this telling of Ragnarok. There are a couple of details here that that I think both Roddykat and I had kind of skipped in our reading of the overall Ultimate series, because neither of us could remember a particular thing happening or how we got to this point in the Ultimate story for this particular character. But at the end of the day, I thought this was a pretty effective story. You can tell this is almost an homage to a particular issue in the Walt Simonson run of Thor, where everything is told in splash pages. That's an important thing to know about this issue, is that every page is a splash page. And it gives Stepan Morian space to both tell something of a sequential tale, but also really put on a great show of art and artistic talent. I think my favorite line of storytelling, not dialogue, but my favorite line of storytelling in this is, and I'm going to quote this, something bad happens to someone close to Thor, and Thor, in throes of terrible grief, uneducated in emotional expression.
Yes.
I cracked up laughing
Mhm.
reading uneducated in emotional expression. I feel like I'm not educated, or at least less. I'm certainly less educated than I need to be in emotional expression. After reading that, I'm like, damn, that's cold.
Yeah,
You know.
I enjoyed that line also.
So I feel like this is definitely an honorable mention for Click of the Week for me because of that line. How about you, Roddykat?
It is it, and actually another line that I'm about to mention is kind of puts it in potential Click of the Week candidacy for me, because there is another line that is said in here, which I feel like you can feel a wink and a nudge to the audience when this is said, because the line goes, "The greatest gift writers get to write their own ending." And I know Dennis Camp has said, I feel like has been out there saying this before, somewhere out there. But the fact that he put it in, it was put in the book, was kind of amusing. It was like, yeah, you're right, because sometimes, I guess, going back to Planet She-Hulk or other books of the like, writers sometimes don't always get to write their own ending to the story. You know, sometimes the sales or whatever don't happen, and they gotta I can't do it the way I want to do, so now I gotta rush this thing or do whatever the case may be. So
Right.
But yeah, I think people are going to definitely come to this issue for the art. The while the story is what it is, and what we see in here is what it is, and what Agent 70 and I seem to either be forgetting or did not find, or they didn't put in to any of the story where it involves Thor, still is missing one way, shape, or form. So maybe that'll be a little bit of backtracking that'll have to be done if it was that important to check out. But yeah, I thought this was going to be the story of what we thought was missing at first, and it did not end up being that case. Again, unless like it's missing something that it might have happened in an issue previous that we might have glossed over or whatever the case may be. So it was brought up. It was brought up in this manner for whatever odd reason. I don't know if it was like, okay, you know what, we need to come back to this, and then the next issue is going to be the grand finale, which is going to be either way for the Ultimates, going into that the outro for the Ultimate Universe. So I guess you wanted to get this out of the way, or this is going to play a part of that next issue some kind of way. I doubt that part very kind of seriously, but either way, this is what we got. And I mean, the Ultimates did kind of like, okay, we're just gonna do this whole thing on the side real quick and maybe bring it back up later on, maybe not. But I don't think this one is, and if it is, I'll be shocked, honestly. So we shall see what happens with that. I guess next between next issue and the end of the Ultimate Universe, whether any of that kind of comes back into play, or anything will, for that matter. But with that, folks, we are done with the books that we have in common. Let's get in a little rapid fire.
Rapid fire review time, folks. Here we go.
I ain't got time to breathe.
First up for me is Batman Wonder Woman Truth #1. It's a one-shot published by DC. It's written by Jeff Loeb with art by Jim Chung. Colors are by J. David Ramos, and letters are by Richard Starkings and Comic Craft's Tyler Smith. So this the story is set post First Hush, right? and you know, that plays a role because we're dealing with um, you know, Batman and Catwoman being together, and then, you know, Batman breaking it off, and you know, Wonder Woman is you know, trying to connect with her teammate slash friend. And there's some great interactions between these characters. There's some great art in this book. Don't get me wrong. Don't get it twisted. I am here for the art that Jim Chung draws on this book. I got both the main cover and the Jim Lee variant cover for this book. There's also a really nice looking Gabriel Del Otto cover for this book. I really enjoyed this one shot. It had like kind of like the typical crossover type of story, but at the same time, you know, it was just fun to see these two creators get together and really churn out some quality work. This is definitely a candidate for Click of the Week for myself. Next up is Captain America number 10. It's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Valerio Schiti, colors by Romulo Fajardo Jr., and letters on this book are by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So this issue is essentially the penultimate issue of this story. I believe it's the penultimate issue of this particular story arc. That will be leading Captain America into Armageddon, because kind of following suit with Captain America New World Order. You know, the Red Hulk is going to play a much more prominent role in this story as well as in Armageddon. And that's how everything's going to tie itself together. It's actually pretty solidly done, right? The story and the art on this book is pretty solid altogether. I'm not so sure I'm a fan of the characterization that they give Captain America, because remember that we've gotten another example of the rubber band continuity where Cap really has only just been unfrozen since sometime after 9/11, right? Not even before 9/11, but well after 9/11. And so we're kind of back at a point in Captain America characterization where he's still very much a man out of time, and he's learning how to adjust with current day, you know, morality, current day happenings, current day attitudes. So it's a little difficult for me to get my hands around to wrap my mind around it. But at the end of the day, it's nothing new, just different because we're putting him into a different era in terms of when he becomes unfrozen, right? Next up for me is Punisher number 3. It's written by Benjamin Percy with art by Jose Luis Suarez. Inks are by Oren Jr. and Jonas Trindade. Colors are by Frank Darmada, and letters are by VC's Corey Petit. I caught up on this Punisher series. This is the 3rd issue of the new series. And Frank is back. Frank Castle is back, but there's something. Well, let's just say he's not completely back in terms of his mind and his brain, and that is a kind of a funny, somewhat real life version of what Frank Castle might be like if he had gone through all of the things that he'd gone through in the comics. I still don't know if we're dealing with the original kind of version of Frank Castle where pre-rubber band continuity he was a Vietnam War vet. I think this is Desert Storm vet, but as I said, with the Captain America story, it's almost like you have to make Frank a veteran of a different conflict in order to keep him relatively vital, or at least keep him kind of relatable in the sense that he's of a certain age and a veteran of a certain conflict. So we'll see how this goes. We have the return of a familiar Punisher antagonist. His rogues gallery is not all that deep. It definitely has a lot of crossover with Spider-Man and Daredevil. But in terms of Punisher specific rogues gallery, there's only a couple of rogues, and the main one that you think of is the one here in this issue, and in this story arc, this opening story arc. So your mileage might vary, but if you're a fan of kind of old school Punisher, you might want to pick this up. Next up is Uncanny X-Men number 27. It's written by Gail Simone with art by Luciano Vecchio. Colors are by Matthew Wilson and letters are by VC's Clayton Cowles. So we're a little deep into a story by Gail Simone where there's probably some magic going on, right? And we have to give it some time to breathe and some time to develop to see how this story is going to unfold. So this is the second part of this story. The first issue kind of laid out a mystery, and we're deepening the mystery here in this issue. We'll see where this goes. Uncanny is still a fun book. If you are looking for the lead into the fall event, you may want to double check with the X-Men, the adjectiveless X-Men, because I believe that's where the fall event is going to originate. The DNX, what you really want. That is in solicitations for July. Last but not least for me is Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon number 3 of 4. It's written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Luca Maresca, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters are by VC's Travis Lanham. So this is supposed to lead into Armageddon, and something that happens here, a decision that Wolverine makes, is going to play a role in Armageddon. We'll see where that is. We're almost at that point where we discover what that decision will be. And we've got a little bit of backstory with some new players on the super soldier stage, and we've folded in a character from Zdarsky's Captain America run into this Weapons of Armageddon story. So we will see how this all unfolds in the next and last issue of the series. With that, handing it off to Roddykat.
Von Gloom says, guessing Jigsaw appeared. Talking about the Punisher book. He also
Ding,
says,
ding, ding.
Also says, Professor S was crazy. I want to find out more about the Rasputin sibling variants. So I am assuming that is a uncanny situation going on there that hopefully wasn't a spoiler for anybody. But for myself, I don't think it was, but I don't know either way. So who am I to say? G.I. Joe, a mere real American hero, Sssilent Missions. And this one is the last one of these. This focused on Firefly. Number 1, by the way. Yeah. Written and art by George Fornes, with colors by Dave Stewart. So yeah, this is the last one of the Sssilent Mission things. As I said, it's Firefly. He is on a mission in a Dragon Ball-esque mountain. Which is somewhere, let's just say Eastern Bloc-ish. At first blush, I thought, wait, is he infiltrating? He's infiltrating a installation that may, if you are up on your G.I. Joe lore, may or may not feel like a certain Eastern Bloc group of G.I. Joe that would come to mind. But I think it was just like Russian, Soviet, Soviet installation, and, we see, but by name and by nature, some fireworks do end up happening. So you don't have to worry about that. But you know, we see like I said, Firefly on a mission that seems to be potentially personal once you get to the end of it. But that being said, yeah, it didn't seem like there was any Cobra involvement in it. It was just like, you know, Firefly doing this thing for reason. If that is of interest to you, then hey, maybe you want to check this out. Next up for me is
Thundarr, the Barbarian.
number 3, written by Jason Aaron, art by Cooper Ball, colors by George Satil, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So, potential click of the week for me, it is a flashback to the, let's just say, the beginning of the show. And by the beginning of the show, meaning the opening of the show. Because if you know how the opening of the Thundarr the Barbarian cartoon goes, you know that there was an event happens. And the beginning of this book kind of sees that event from a different perspective before going into the story, which has Thundarr, Ariel, and Ookla transported to the past to that era because of wizards, because it's always about wizards. We also get a little bit of backstory between, you know, let's just say a meeting of this group in a way, shape, or form that may or may not possibly be some would say it's an alternate version of what could have possibly happened. Some could say, hey, maybe somebody's mind is being played with and for a reason. But one thing that can be certain is that at the end of this, time plays a factor in this, and looks like we're going to get the origin of another item of note in the Thundarr mythos next issue, which they've been kind of teasing around the last couple of issues anywho. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that going forward. It's been fun to read though, so that, you know, Jason Aaron's kind of been doing a thing with it. Like, where is he going with it? You know, I guess it's out there on the page, but we shall see if it's, you know, it's going to add anything or whatnot, because it's not like there was a whole lot of lore to Thundarr the Barbarian outside of what the show's presented. So, you know,
Right. I'll tell you something very quickly. Hold your
Sure.
thoughts. I ran into on Wednesday when I picked up my books. I ran into someone who was picking up this particular issue of Thundarr the Barbarian,
okay,
and I made a comment saying, you know, I'm really glad that this is out there for the fandom. And I actually remarked that the fandom seems to be supporting this book at my shop, because my shop is not that big, but they ordered like 20 plus copies because apparently people are pulling this book. So good for them. Good for these Thundarr the Barbarian fans.
So here's the
No
thing
joke,
about that.
you know?
Yeah, right. So here's the thing about that going on, that because it's kind of funny, because I think some people had picked up on the fact that, like, a similar thing with Space Ghost, because from what I'm understanding, Space Ghost has also been doing pretty good. I know I've been picking it up as well, because there are fans of people who like those shows from back in the day, and it's like, oh,
Right.
and especially if they're comic fans now, it's like, oh, so they made a book off of these particular, you know, Hanna-Barbera, Ruby Spears characters. Now let's see what was got going on there. So yeah, I did not know that Thundarr was getting picked up like that at your spot. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and to hold that thought again, I wanted to say that when when I made that comment, the customer who, you know, I had never seen before, you know, struck me as maybe a little bit older than both of us.
Yeah,
Maybe contemporaries of us. It's hard to tell sometimes,
sure.
depending on how people are dressed and what they're wearing on their heads, and you know, the whether or not they're cracking or raisoning. So so ultimately, what I mentioned was that the what I said earlier, and in response, this particular customer mentioned that it's like they're picking right up from where the cartoon left off, and I'm like, I didn't watch it that closely when I was a kid.
Yeah, and I feel like
I
I've
do remember Thundarr the
right.
Barbarian, but I just
Mhm.
don't remember much of the lore. If anything, I just remember the flaming sword. That's about it.
Mhm.
And the Beast guy who's on the cover of this issue. So
Yeah, Ookla.
I'm sorry to, right? I didn't even know he had a name. So I will I will hand it back to Roddykat. But like I said, there is support for this book at my shop. Shout out to Bulletproof Comics in Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Von Gloom, if you're still in the chat, if you end up finding an LCS where you are, feel free to shout them out, because I know you said you were looking where you are, but yeah, like I said, we are of the I'm like you're a couple of years younger than me, but still, you were still of the age that where you would have seen Thundarr somewhere, whether it be on USA Cartoon Network or even hell back when it was on. Actually, yeah, you would have been old enough to see on when it was on
Just
NBC.
local. Yeah, I was about to say just local TV. Local TV.
Yeah, when it was on Saturday mornings.
It was on ABC. Yeah.
Yeah, ABC. That's right, not NBC. Space Ghost. I was on NBC, but so yeah, like I said, those of our vintage and slightly older, and probably I guess slightly younger also, because there some of the stuff they rerun as well, and there's always Boomerang as well, but the affinity is there. But going back to what you were saying about, it seemed like to be taken up from the cartoon. Yeah, I feel like I've said that. I might have said that with the first issue, maybe, because it definitely seemed like, I don't know if like the very end of the cartoon, I guess I'll find out if I ever go through it, because I did end up like before this book came out, I ended up buying the
DVDs.
The DVDs. So I'm sitting here looking at them because they're right there. I just can't get to it right now. Oh no, there it is right there. I'm taking too much time for this.
Careful.
Yeah, that's fine. There we go.
There you go.
Also got Mr. T too, but that's beside the point. I don't think there's going to be a Mr. T.
And the T-Force.
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be a Mr. T comic book, but still. Von Gloom says, "I know Thundarr, my gray beard and bald spot says that I am not that young." We're with you there, sir. But like I said, that just goes back to what we were saying. Like I said, the fact that comic publishers, I guess specifically Dynamite, because Dynamite and Mad Cave are pretty much mining the nostalgia for these shows. Because like I said, the Space Ghost book has been doing pretty good. Johnny Quest's book was doing all right, I think. And Thundarr seemed to be doing okay already. I mean, hell, even with, I would kind of lump into Turtles with this, but that's, Turtles have not gone anywhere for a good while, so that's not really saying that. But these particular books with, that, like I said, the Hanna-Barbera / Ruby Spears as things, like that's where they're pretty much mining for. And if in some cases have been some pretty good stories coming out of it. So, there may be enough of the fandom that are both comic adjacent and have the nostalgia for these characters out there enough to where it'll be viable for a minute. So, which is good, because I don't mind, because y'all, if you've stuck around here to this show long enough, y'all know I've been reading the hell out of these books. So therein lies that. I'm still waiting for a Teen Force book. I don't know if it's gonna happen. And the Herculoids book happened, but that didn't, as far as I know, didn't fare so well, or that they told the story they wanted to do. I'm not entirely sure which way it happened, but it did end, so it is what it is. Thundercat Silverhawks. We see what's going on with that too. So that's kind of a whole other thing. You can also put He-Man into that, but that's a coming and going thing, as we will see in the news later on. But that being said, that is actually it for my books. Clicks of the week.
Clicks of the week.
Oh wait, actually, I take it back slightly, because there was a couple of points I meant to make about this issue of the book, but So yeah, so like I said, we have some stuff going on in the past. We have another possible side path that seems like a dream, or an alternate of the past that may or may not have happened. That's eventually probably going to come together at some point. We see Ariel, who is the resident sorceress in this book, have a dark phoenix moment possibly. And we also, like I said, I did say this prior to this, we do get a little bit of backstory into these characters. The meetings of Thundarr, Ookla, and Ariel, in the last couple of issues, but in this issue also specifically, and including an item of note that Agent 70 just mentioned that they will probably be getting into next issue, or they definitely will be getting into next issue. And with that, now we can go back to say Clicks of the Week.
Clicks of the Week!
So you said you pretty much had yours, correct?
Yeah. I think I'm going with Batman Wonder Woman Truth #1, one shot by DC.
Yeah, you seemed you seem to put the writing on that one, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Maybe I might actually check that out, because I am kind of curious in that. For myself, I will also, before I get to mine, just wanted to mention that neither one of us read Deadly Hands of Kunlun #3 this week.
Right, didn't have a get a chance to get to it. So
yeah, or Wonder Man #2 for that matter.
Same.
Yeah. So outside of that, I don't think there's too much else that I think I pretty much got to most of it. Oh yeah, Justice League Intergalactic Special, which I'm not entirely sure what that was coming off of, but that is a thing that is out there.
Intergalactic Planetary.
Indeed. Definitely wasn't touching Street Sharks Annual 2026, as Agent 70 joked to me prior to the show, or at the end of last week's show, I think. But for myself, I think it is definitely either going to be Planet She-Hulk #6, Thundarr the Barbarian, or Ultimates, and I don't think it's going to be Ultimates. I as I said before, I'm going to definitely pour back over to that.
Yeah, Ultimates would have been my runner-up. Like, if I had a runner-up, I think it would have been Ultimates #23 for me.
Yeah, and that's I still think people are definitely going to pick that up for the art, if anything else. So, you know what? Planet She-Hulk #6. That is mine. I died too young, but glad to have it while it was here. Hopefully we will see, like I said, Jen and crew back at some point soonish rather than later-ish. And then maybe we'll even get to see if she got to slap Bruce before she left Sakaar, but I think they're probably going to move away from that now that it didn't, now that that's not a thing anymore. But with that, we are going to go into the news section. Let's get our first ad read.
Our first ad read of this episode, give me a minute to track this down, is for Wink, your personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Tonante, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
Cinematic news, as we say about this time. Jeopardy champ Jamie Dean calls out ICE after 31 winning streak ends. The government is going after immigrants in a way unlike anything we have seen. That is actually not the beginning of the news section, but I saw it on the side and I wanted to put it in there, and good for them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's see. Iron Man, but the actual news is Iron Man director Jon Favreau tries to stop Tony Stark's death in Avengers Endgame, but now admits that they were wrong. So apparently, let's see, where is this? Oh, Jon Favreau finally admits that he was wrong to warn Joe and Anthony Russo against killing off Tony Stark in Endgame. Let's see. Yeah, we know Favreau's history with Iron Man. Here's the quote. I called the Russos. I was like, I don't know if people are going to like, I don't know. I think it's going to really impact people because there were a few kids that grew up with that character. This was him talking on Jimmy Kimmel about that situation. So... but quote, I have to tell you, it was handled so well by them. He adds, and Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr. did a wonderful job acting, and I think it added a poignancy to it. I think they did a wonderful job. I was wrong. I was choked up. Even though it was a movie, those characters have been a part of my life for so long. The Marvel snipers got to me. I don't know why I said that in any way, shape, or form. No, I'm just kidding. That last part, that was me saying that. But I'm pretty sure wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. But like, hey, shut up. We did it. What are we doing? But anyway, yeah, therein lies that. Next up.
Jessica Jones apparently almost appeared in Daredevil Born Again Season 1, according to Kristen Ritter. Let's see. Apparently, she says there was some talk about the character appearing in the first season. Ritter told Entertainment Weekly. She was excited, and they did end up bringing Jessica back, and obviously Kristen Ritter's very happy, and Kristen Ritter kept the secret for a long time.
It's also funny because we thought she and the others were coming back in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Nope, don't do that. Next up, though, second Spider-Man Noir trailer has dropped. Apparently that thing's coming out on the 25th of May on MGM Plus, so we're not going to be watching it. But yeah, there's a second trailer from some convention out of Mexico, and you can check it out in the show notes if you haven't already. I believe it is still Nicolas Cage being that character. So therein lies that. Yeah, it goes in the trailer, which you can check out for yourself. But there are some names in this that you may or may not know from Spider-Man lore that are going to be in the show. Next up.
1 second. DC's The Authority movie is now put on the far back burner. James Gunn says the script wasn't quite there and the story didn't work in terms of the larger DCU. I mean, okay. Am I really disappointed? Not really. This was announced, the movie was initially announced by Gunn and Peter Safran back in January 2023 when they first unveiled their plans for the new DC universe. But now this is on the official back burner.
Now put Batgirl back on the burner. Anyway, yeah, I don't have the affinity for the Authority, so I don't think I've ever actually even read any much of it. So I guess, boo-hoo. I don't. Not really crying for that one. But I'm pretty sure that's probably one that he wanted, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess it took much. Von Gloom says, as long as Finn Jones doesn't return, there's still been rumors of that, and
he's coming back.
Yeah, I think they're all coming back.
I think that's a foregone conclusion. I hate to tell you.
Yeah, I think all of them coming back. Hopefully, like again, I say it again, bring back the Daughters of the Dragon. Some moments again, Jessica Henwick, give them a series at that because it was long overdue.
That's what we need.
Absolutely. Next up, though, Invincible changed the gender of Tech Jacket because Robert Kirkman wanted to fix a major comic book quote unquote shortcoming. You know, there's a lot of quote unquote shortcomings that was fixed by in the Invincible show. So from what I understand, that book would not read well in this climate today. So the stuff that was changed was probably for the best. I don't know about the gender change, but hey, sure, it is what it is. But let's see. As some folks may or may not know, in Kirkman's Invincible comics, Tech Jacket is Zach Thomas and not Zoe. A hero perhaps best known for bonding with his father over growing facial hair during their time apart. You know, I don't think that's definitely not happening in the show. But the show opted for a different direction. They changed it to what I said. Here's a quote. One of the downsides of Invincible is co-creator Corey Walker and I were like 23 and 21. Here's the excuse. When we started that book, and your default when you're not really paying attention is yourself. Kirkman explained to The Wrap. Every time we introduce another character, oh look, it's another white male. Who knew? It's just a shortcoming that we hadn't quite noticed and done our due diligence to correct. Sure. There's also some dialogue in that book that didn't make it to the comic, that didn't make it to the show, that was probably changed for the necessity. From what I've looked into. So yeah, it wasn't just a gender thing. But yeah, sure. Good on him for that, I guess. Next up, though.
Sorry. It's the middle of trying to take care of something. Let's see what's next. Star Trek Strange New Worlds sets season 4 release date, drops a stunning first teaser. Good for them. Strange New Worlds has a premiere date at Paramount Plus. Still not gonna subscribe. The 4th season of the sci-fi show will premiere on July 23rd, with new episodes dropping weekly thereafter through the finale on September 24th. A new teaser for the season has also been released, which can be seen on YouTube. The announcement was made at CCXP in Mexico during the Paramount Plus Thundarr stage presentation.
Oh, that was the convention that I mentioned for the other article. So I guess must have been some news out of that. Also, Agent 70, don't you want to watch a bunch of Nickelodeon shows that you probably didn't watch in the first place when they were on the air? Talk about Paramount Plus.
Why?
Nice. All right, now we get into the He-Man block with some sad news. He-Man creator Roger Sweet passes away at 91, leaving behind a iconic legacy, according to this article, and also apparently some possible debt. I think Von Gloom, if you're still in the chat, you might have said this on Twitter, but it's something I'm about to get to. But yeah, apparently they're making this. Well, anyway, let me get into it real quick. So, according to reports, Sweet passed away peacefully at a care facility after battling dementia, which is always a sad thing. His wife Marlene confirmed the news with TMZ. It's a tough loss, especially according to this article, especially knowing that he didn't get to see the next big evolution of his creation. I think I feel like I saw somewhere out there on the interwebs that there was a GoFundMe for this, for him being in this care facility, and I'm sitting here like, how you make He-Man? They're making a movie and they don't drop you any money. Well, we already know why.
Yeah, we know why.
Yeah, so it's kind of messed up. But that being said, condolences to his family and whatnot. But yeah, you can get into the story of Sweet's history with the franchise and in Mattel and whatnot, and everything since then in this article if you wish to. Next up,
a new international trailer for Masters of the Universe has arrived, and it reworks some familiar footage, but also sneaks in a handful of new moments that gives us all a better feel for Prince Adam's journey and the chaos waiting for him back home. The article goes on to describe lots of what's going on in the trailer. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, you know what? This is a movie that's set to come out June 5th, 2026.
Yeah. Yeah, movie protocol may or may not happen, but I'm definitely probably gonna watch it at some point. And yeah, Von Gloom does confirm that they had a GoFundMe for Roger Sweet's care.
Oof.
So, and that's a sad
Tough
that has
look.
to-
Tough
yeah,
look.
that's kind of crazy. But next up, Masters of the Universe teasers reveal more Skeletor and spotlight some more wild characters. I don't care about the Skeletor part because that's Jared Leto, but apparently the teaser drops us into action as Attila tracks down Prince Adam on Earth. It goes into their reunion and some other stuff. Apparently there's some other He-Man adjacent characters that they run into in the course of these teasers. So, and possibly a reworked version of a character. Also, yeah, therein lies the thing. And yeah, like I just said, it'll be seen. It might not be movie protocol worthy, but it will definitely be seen. Von Gloom says, yeah, a lot of these older creators have to rely on GoFundMe. Yeah, that's true. For the healthcare, makes me wonder why people want to be creators when people are getting screwed and shafted financially. So the part about that is, one, it was a different time, and not making any excuses. You could get away with that a little bit more than you probably can now because people are more savvy about what their creations nowadays than they were, and what they could get from it from back then, because people were just like, oh, I just want to make this thing, hopefully it works out for me, whatever the case may be. But big companies were just going to screw them one way or the other, and they could at the time, because the information wasn't there or whatever the case may be at the time, because again, it was a way different time than it is now. So that is my thought on it. I don't know whether I can't speak on a lot of it, but it is. I don't think the kind of stuff that happened back then probably would not happen as much these days. Put it that way. So Von Globe says it has Leto in it, so I'm not watching it. And also Hollywood stopped putting Leto into things I wanted to watch. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Thank you very much. But yeah, next up.
Let's see.
You may have to scroll down just a little bit.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. That's like my scrolling is not audible. I don't have like a wheel on my mouse. I'm using the glass covered Apple mouse, right? So you can't hear me scrolling, but I'm going slowly to try to figure out what to say about this article story. So this is we're referring to a Business Insider article with an interview with Lionsgate film boss Adam Fogelson. And apparently he's coming out to say that he would support a Michael sequel even though they had to do reshoots on that movie for the ending. Fogelson also gave updates on the Housemaid movie and War Machine sequels. That I guess the War Machine thing is a Netflix thing. That's not War Machine as in Jim Rhodes.
Right.
And the Housemaid, I believe, is also a Netflix thing. Oh no, this is a global box office movie. So I guess this is a real movie. I guess Sydney Sweeney was in that movie. And last but not least, Fogelson also said it might be a while before you see a 5th John Wick movie. Boo.
Or at least John Wick proper as in name, because according to the next article, John Wick's Donnie Yen begins production on Caine standalone film with the quote, "Here we go." So yeah, they're making a movie on Donnie Yen's character from 4, which I had to think about it. Wait, was it 3 or 4? I think it was 4. So yeah, Donnie Yen's reprising his role as the blind assassin Caine in the standalone movie he's directing. He's announced on that. Oh, it was on the first day of filming that he announced this. He announced this on Instagram, and yes, it was 4, so I was right. And yeah, that's pretty much that. There's a post on Instagram with the clackboard, and I'm assuming that's Donnie Yen's hands or somebody's hands took the picture. You can see the Instagram post right there if you're watching the video version. So yeah, another sad thing. And apparently there is, in addition to a prequel anime film in development, the sequel series John Wick Under the High Table is in the works, which I did not know that was still a thing, but apparently that is still a thing. So they are going to milk that franchise for everything.
Just keep expanding it, right?
Yeah, milking, expanding, tomato. Von Gloom says the artist said that the rates hadn't changed in 30 years, and Mike Troy was complaining about the pay rate a few months ago. Yeah, but that's slightly different because that's artist rate for comic books, if I'm not mistaken. I'm talking about for creators of like stuff like G.I. Joe, He-Man, figures and things like that type stuff.
Right.
I'm not saying it's any better, but but that's different.
I mean, listen, what's funny about it is, they unfortunately didn't create characters in comics first and then end up having to license them.
Right.
Because, if they had been if this creator had been as lucky as Eastman and Laird, then, they might have been able to cash in on some of the popularity. But I believe, I don't have all of the facts on the creation of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, so I cannot speak intelligently or really, in detail about it. But I'm going to presume that that the creator probably created it under the usual work for hire setup, and didn't really get a chance to cash in on having a creation.
Right. I feel like that's probably something that the Toys That Made Us probably went over and at some point. So, and even as far as the Eastman Laird, yeah, even then that story definitely is in there, and there was things going on with that whole situation, even with that. So,
right, but at least they had a chance because it was creator owned,
right?
To
exactly.
Really take some advantage of it. So,
right.
But all the other stuff. Yeah. All the other stuff is the meat and the fodder for the story. The Toys That Made Us episode.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a really great episode, by the way. Not that we're
plugging
nacelle stuff, but that's a great one.
Wait, did they do something problematic, or are we just saying
no? I'm just saying.
I'm just making sure. I was like, God damn it, I like this stuff. Don't no, don't do this. And I know they're supposed to be doing a 4th and 5th season, but I guess they hadn't. That stuff's still not done yet, or whatever the case may be. So there's supposedly more stuff to come. We're definitely not.
I can watch that episode, because that was a great Toys That Made Us episode.
It very much was. Actually, there was a couple of them, but yeah, that one's particularly kind of heartbreaking at a part as well. But anyway, next up,
hold on, I got this one. Paramount shared a pretty cool look at CinemaCon of the big screen adaptation of Children of Blood and Bone. It's a fantasy adaptation based on Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. The film dives into a rich, magic-filled African kingdom and brings it to life on a massive cinematic scale. Directed by Gina Prince Bythewood. I literally read that Bythewood. This marks her return to feature filmmaking after The Woman King, and she's clearly not dialing things down. The movie hits theaters and IMAX on January 15th, 2027. And that's pretty cool. It's something to look forward to.
I believe, I can't remember if Viola Davis, I know she does have an attachment to this thing, but I thought her production company might have had something to do with this also, but that may or may not be. I think that might have been the case. I can't remember, but she's definitely also going to be in the movie, as well as some other people that you can see if you're watching the video version. But I need to finish reading that book, because it was actually not bad. I'll get to that in a second. Von Gloom. Gen V canceled after 2 seasons. The Boys' next spinoff, Voight Rising, However, it has been confirmed for 2027 launch. So yeah, the news comes 6 months after season 2 of the YA drama, which sets at Hogwarts. I mean, God University School of Crime Fighting. Let's see. Apparently, one of the stars has a role on another show, so they're all right for right now. But yeah, that's pretty much that. So next, oh wait, actually, let me get this real quick. I think they originally planned on a Conan the Barbarian Toyland, and they pivoted to something unique, and the late creator drafted up the series Bible and the lore. So yeah, things like that happen. But next up, well, perfect that you got this one.
The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 3 might arrive sooner than expected with a major story leap. So fans waiting to return to Middle-earth might not have to sit tight as long as expected. The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Season 3 has just landed an interesting update, and it sounds like the next chapter could arrive much earlier than the rumored 2027 window. Let's see here. A new report suggests the studio is eyeing a release sometime this year. If that holds, viewers could be diving back into the story much sooner than expected. Okay.
Already been long enough that I've pretty much forgot what's happening in season 2. So, rev up your catch-up videos, I guess, because you know what's gonna happen. Indeed, folks. Prepare your shots of Geritol for this one, if you even know what Geritol is. Space Jam, the Michael Jordan one, is returning to theaters for the 30th
Oh my God!
anniversary.
Are you kidding me with this? It's been listen, I know that LeBron did a poorly received remake, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Space Jam is how old? Say it again.
30 years.
I'm too old for this shit.
Damn.
However, folks, there is a slight catch. It's only for one day only, excuse me. In fact, it is going to be May 20th of this year as a part of the 30th anniversary. I'm gonna say it again, 30th anniversary. 30th. 30.
Goodness. Is it safe to sing R. Kelly again already? What?
No, probably not. Oh, it depends on. I'm just gonna go ahead and say no. It depends on what crowd you're in, but probably not. But let's face it, some people are gonna find themselves singing that song because you just can't help it. That's how catchy that song damn was. But guess what, Agent 70? That's not all that has come along with this 30th anniversary. Warner Brothers and AMC announced a special event on Wednesday and will be offering either a collectible basketball cup or, you know where I'm going with this, Papa Shot style popcorn bucket.
Oh my gosh.
If you're watching the video version, you can see said items right there. The funny kind of part about it is that that basketball with the string with the straw hanging out of it kind of reminds me of the things you used to get like at like Disneyland or a fair or something when you get a drink, but doesn't have the crazy straw with it. Regardless, so you can get, like I said, the I actually kind of want that popcorn one. I'm not gonna lie, because it's got the little, you throw the popcorn in the basket or whatnot. I don't know about the cup, but that's fine. Regardless, I don't know. Well, like I said, Space Jam is going to be in the theaters for the one day, which is which is May 20th. And according to this, it says that the collectible stuff is while supplies last, and I suspect those might actually go. Depends on how many of those they also make. So therein lies that. But if you ever wanted to see, Space Jam in the theater and you didn't the first time it happened, you got one more shot, pallies. Wait, does it say here when the original Space Jam hit the theaters on November 10th, 1996. 96. So, I mean, I'm sure folks know that already. Next up, though. Oh, we're getting some comic book news.
Yeah, this was sad to see.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad to see. I'm going to get this story up in a second.
Yeah, this is what I wanted Matt to respond about.
Yeah, the storied comic news site Newsarama is seemingly now defunct after a series of layoffs by parent company Future PLC resulted in the elimination of the last dedicated person working on the website. Longtime Newsarama staff writer George Marston announced earlier this month that they had been laid off earlier this month as part of a broader round of cuts across the Journalism and Events Corporation. So he'd been there for 17 years. Goodness gracious. I can't believe Newsarama doesn't exist anymore.
Honestly, it was a matter of time. Because the way they swallowed it up with games or whatever it is, Games Radar.
Games Radar, right?
Yeah, the way they swallowed it up in the first place was like, yeah, this doesn't seem like it's, and it was hard to find the Newsarama stuff, even though they had the category, the comics category. So it's like it felt like the writing was on the wall. It was just a matter of time, and sure enough, it definitely was. The writer of this article also worked for Newsarama, Chris Arendt. So, as they say here in this article, so they have history of this, and it also goes through the history of Newsarama. So, rest in peace to Newsarama, because I used to actually Newsarama was probably one of the better sites to get comic news off of
for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously competition, right? Obviously competition is going to bring about, more players in the marketplace. But I remember when Newsarama and CPR were it.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like in this case, it's not even competition. It's, sadly the landscape of as I said in here, of journalism and the like,
right.
Being what it is. Not necessarily saying that comics journalism is more is anything like news journalism, like state of affairs journalism, but still, people, companies looking for that money and was like, well, we can't find it here, so we're just gonna get rid of this and use it to something else type situations going on, sadly. Even if the niche was still there for folks. But yeah, sad to go. Newsarama. Diamond Bankruptcy Court approves lawyers and funding for litigation, because yes, folks, this thing is still going on. The Bankruptcy Court and Diamond Comics distributors bankruptcy case has approved hiring JP Morgan Chase to yes, despite objections to the, I'm skipping over stuff, so my apologies, shouldn't be, to the plan filed by Alliance Entertainment and the ad hoc committee of the co-signers. The objections had argued that the strategy will run up administrative costs for uncertain results, and that any benefits will go only to the bank, not to unsecured creditors. So basically, some people was like, nah, they shouldn't be hired because X, Y, and Z. So, and it's noted here that JP Morgan Chase is already owed around $7 million, apparently, surrounding this case. And yeah, it's still going, and it's still a thing. Next up.
1 second. Let's see. Nice. This is a fun story. Absolute Wonder Woman. Power Fantasy and more are Hugo Awards finalists. So the finalists for the 2026 Hugo Awards were announced this week, once again offering an intriguing mix of material, not least in the best graphic story or comic category. The winners will be announced at a ceremony held at LA Con 5 Anaheim on August 30th. Okay.
Yep. Some most other notable things in this article apparently. Best dramatic presentation long form. We got Andor season 2, and of course, K-pop Demon Hunters. Sinners also in this category, and Superman. The James Gunn Superman specifically. Best dramatic presentation short form. You got Doctor Who story, Pluribus. I know Agent 70 was on that one. Let's see, Severance. I guess this is, I'm assuming, oh no, I guess this is the show. Severance, yes. An episode of the show Severance. And the best game or interactive works, which I don't know why I did what I did, but Blueprints, Clair Obscura, of course, Dispatch, which I need to play, that's comic book related, so I should probably play that. And a couple of others of note. But yeah, some stuff. And does it say here when the Hugos are going to happen?
Yeah, I said it earlier.
Did you?
It is August 30th.
There we go.
At LA Con
Yes.
5.
Yay. So I'm sure we will talk about the winners after that happens. Next up, though, Dark Horse Comics and Mattel announced He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, The Wings of Fate, a new comic series launching June 10th after the film's global theatrical release, because you know you got to put the book out there when there's a movie around. The series is written by Tim Sheridan and illustrated by Will Sliney, colored by Israel Silva, and lettered by Ann World Design. So there you go. Presumably it's in the realm of the movie, so I think that's pretty much all you need to know. Next up.
You can learn more about Eternia in Masters of the Universe Genesis, a new 12-issue comic series, Masters of the Universe Genesis, exploring Eternia's history, will debut on August 5th, 2026. This is published by Dark Horse Books and Mattel. It's diving into the history of Eternia through the eyes of its most heroic and most evil warriors. Issue number 1 will be available wherever comic books are sold on August 5th, 2026 for $4.99.
Indeed.
Okay.
We'll have another story about pricing in a minute. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips follow a tormented writer in Unfinished Tales. Let's see. Unfinished Tales is a story of Finnegan Blake, a successful author laboring to finish the final volume of his epic fantasy series. When an old friend of his shows up with a possible solution, Blake jumps at it, but the deal soon turns dark. Image Comics will publish the original graphic novel on November the 11th, 2026, in comic shops and December 8th in bookstores. Okay, I read that slightly off. The 144-page hardcover will have an MSRP of $25.99. So if any of that is of interest to you, you can check it out then. Next up.
Godzilla returns to his roots in the horror of Godzilla. This is pre-Kai-Sai era miniseries coming this summer. The Horror of Godzilla, which is set in Tokyo in 1954 and is a prequel to IDW's Kai-Sai era, or Kai-Sei era, which is their current continuity for the Godzilla character. The 4-issue series will be written by Griffin Sheridan and Ethan S. Parker with art by Tristan Jones, and the first issue will be released on July 29th, 2026. Cool.
Oh, the horror. Brand new shared universe competing with Marvel and DC launches its own Spider-Man, apparently. So this is Summit Comics, who is launching this shared superhero universe. Apparently there's a Kickstarter out there. Let's see. The Pinnacle Summit, it's called Summit Pinnacle, is the book, and it's going to be a giant size anthology. And it's going to also be the debut of the Summit Comics universe in that one shot with over a dozen stories. Let's see. One of the heroes is called Pinnacle, the Cobalt Cricket, which is going to have their own series and will hit Kickstarter, which is apparently already has hit Kickstarter as of the time of this recording. The CBR has an interview with the writer, Sebastian Piccione, excuse me, that is here in the article. So you could check that out if you are interested. Next up.
The Cobalt Cricket. Okay. Jim Lee reveals some health issues that he's been dealing with behind the delays to Hush 2. So, what he said in a Facebook post this past Friday that the Hush delays have a medical reason, that contribute to the lateness of the book. So, what he's posted is that the final issue of the second arc, Batman number 163, will finally ship Wednesday, May 27th. He's still working on it as of this past Friday. He had 2 pages left with Scott Williams and Alex Sinclair right behind him. What he shared is that he was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, the result of decades of poor decisions and work habits, way too little sleep, way too much stress, and way too many late night carbs under deadline. Apparently, he said meds were not an option for him, which is a little surprising. So he rebuilt himself through diet, exercise, and sleep. Apparently he would not react well to metformin, or he did not react well to metformin, which is like a really common diabetes medicine. It's been a challenge apparently to and frustrating to correct his situation, his condition, using diet and exercise exclusively.
Yeah.
Apparently he can't churn out stuff at the last second like he used to, like turn on an extra gear. I'm like, dude, you're getting older. That's just life,
Right.
Like, it's just hard to stay up late at night and pull all-nighters. I can't do that much anymore, Like, if
Yeah.
I'm, like, you have to just kind of budget your time, because, like that last second rush of a deadline only works so much.
Yeah, that's true for normal folks. That is absolutely true. And most folks are normal, so yeah, it goes into a little bit of his new schedule now, and it's like, you got to do what you got to do, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks that it kind of takes things like this to make yourself realize that that's the case, a lot of times. But I guess something's gotta get you there, hopefully before it's way too late. So, but next up, DC omnibusing Rucka's return to Wonder Woman, which is Wonder Woman Rebirth. Let's see. The new collection brings together Rucka's work on the character from the mid-teens, which was part of DC's Rebirth publishing initiative. The core of the collection is Wonder Woman 1 through 25, joined by Wonder Woman Rebirth number 1, and the stories from DC Holiday Special 2017, Wonder Woman 75th Anniversary Special number 1, Wonder Woman Annual number 1, and Wonder Woman number 790. All the stories are written by Rucka, with art by Bickles Everly, so that art's going to be great. Nicholas Gart, Liam Sharp, and others, which, like I said, the cover of Wonder Woman Rebirth is by Liam Sharp. The 720-page hardcover will street on September 1st for a $100 MSRP. Next up.
DC's Absolute Universe line is finally getting its first crossover. I don't know if it's first crossover, because we've had Absolute Wonder Woman and Absolute Batman crossover. Per an Instagram video of Absolute Batman writer Scott Snyder discussing the franchise's future, Absolute Superman writer Jason Aaron will be the main writer, though he's working with the other Absolute creators to bring the event together. As in the mainline DC universe, the Absolute Universe's Martian Manhunter is set to play a major role in assembling the team. Okay.
Yeah, I guess if you want to go that route, you could say that whole Batman Wonder Woman thing was more of a team up than a crossover, but it still applies that the way.
Well, it was a crossover because
it was a crossover with those characters.
Books, right.
Yeah. But for the way, because at least with this image, I thought I was like, are they actually gonna cross over the universes again? Because even then, that wouldn't be, that would still not be make this the first, I guess.
Right.
So I'm guessing maybe they mean line. I don't know. It doesn't matter. One way or another, it's happening. It was bound to happen. It's happening, and I guess we'll read it or something will happen one way, shape, or form. Although this article is going more about Jason Aaron than the crossover itself. Anyway, next up, some very, very sad news that I was actually going to mention earlier when Agent 70 was talking about Punisher. Comics legend Gerry Conway passes away at 73. And why is that significant? Because he was a co-creator of the Punisher and was very outspoken about the way that the Punisher and the logo was being used in recent history. By the way. So but yeah, this Marvel Comics revealed on Twitter, aka X, whatever, that he had passed. There's, as a matter of fact, if you go to the clickbait section, there is an article on Marvel.com about the work that he did at Marvel. So you can check that out there, and I'm pretty sure this article is going to go into a lot of his stuff here. But yeah, he's the death of Gwen Stacy was his. Again, the first appearance of the Punisher, Spider-Man versus Superman versus Spider-Man. Let's see, an 8-year run on Justice League. Again, co-creator of the Punisher.
He was a teenager when he started in the industry, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
At the age of 16 for DC and at 19 at Marvel. My God.
Mm-hmm. Co-creator of Power Girl, Vixen, Miss Marvel, the Carol Danvers version, I'm pretty sure. Well, definitely sure, and Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. So, but yeah, it goes into his history, including the bits that Agent 70 just mentioned. So, rest in peace. Actually, does it even say what he passed from? I guess it was natural causes, because it didn't necessarily say here. Yeah, I don't see here. That Marvel article probably also doesn't have anything. But regardless, we lost a legend. So, rest in peace. Next up.
Yes, absolutely. Marvel plans Predator versus the Planet of the Apes series because crossovers.
Yes.
Marvel Comics will launch Predator versus Planet of the Apes, a 5-issue series by Greg Pak and Alan Robinson in July in collaboration with 20th Century Studios. This will be the first ever crossover between these particular two properties. The story features a 3-way war between humans, apes, and Yautja, which develops after a Yautja crash lands on the planet where a human astronaut is embedded in the ape society. Of course.
Of course. You blew it up, you damn dirty apes. Yeah, but what they, as I said this on Twitter, what they needed to just go ahead and do it, just go ahead and just throw the Aliens license in here, because Marvel does have it, and they have been putting books out of it. Just go ahead and put all of them in here, make it a 4-way, and just get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way.
Well, no, that would be the next part, right? That would be.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting to. I was about to say, I'm pretty sure at the end of this, there's going to be you'll see a xenomorph egg or something pop up at the end of this.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all. But yeah, I haven't been reading any of those. I know I read the Marvel, the Marvel character, whatever of those.
Predator, right?
Yeah, or the Aliens one that had the Avenger one, but I think I stopped reading those because there was the Fantastic Four, Planet of the Apes ones that's still going on right now that I was curious about but never checked out. Either way, that stuff's going on. Next up, though, Marvel officially reveals a brand new era for Spider-Man and Venom. This is a preview for Web of Spider-Man #1, which I think is out already, or has it come out?
Web of Venom.
Web of Venom, excuse me. Sorry. Yeah, definitely don't want to make that mistake.
Yeah, it is out. It's definitely out.
Yeah, so this is technically kind of an old article, but nevertheless, if you did not see the preview of that book, you can get the preview here and see whether you want to check it out or not. Next up.
Right, and it's interesting to see who is bonded with the symbiote that looks like Spider Venom.
Right. It's rec rap.
It's not. It's not. But it's a pretty interesting character. Let's see. Doom must stop his own past self in this official Marvel preview. So yeah, Doom 2099 Rage of Doom #1 on sale next week from Marvel Comics. So yeah, this is a new miniseries from writer Frank Thierry, artist Vaughn Randall, colorist Andrew Dahlhaus, and letterer Travis Lanham. I love it when they do credits just like we do. And and yeah, this is some Doom 2099 stuff. I didn't I haven't played nearly enough Marvel Rivals to realize that he is the central a central figure in the Marvel Rivals game. So I guess Doom 2099 is having a bit of a moment.
I knew Doom was in it, yeah, but also didn't know that because I'm not playing Rivals. So
That's cool. But it's cool though that that they're pushing the character in comics as a result. So yeah, have fun with this.
yeah, indeed. Next up, though, Generation X23, which actually came out this week, now that I think about it, is the only Marvel comic left that costs just $3.99 according to this article. I guess. So let's see. Number 6 is $3.99 as far in July 2026, with the rest of the line now priced at $4.99. And yes, we have felt that in our pockets.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Several Marvel books were still $3.99 in April, May, and June, but relaunches, finales, and ongoings have now jumped up $1 according to this article. Higher priced July Marvel titles range from $5.99 to $7.99, highlighting how fast standard comic book pricings are changing. Yeah, I mean, people notice and may not say anything, and or don't notice and still buying it. Until they realize, oh wait, wow, these things have gone up. But apparently, according to this article, DC still has 31 July comic books at $3.99, and Image has 51. But the wider industry inflation may soon push books to $5. So it is a sad state of affairs because we could remember when they were $1 or less.
Oh, it's hard to listen. It's hard to look at the bill when you walk out with a stack of books and you're like, how much?
Mm-hmm.
So.
And when you realize that creators are getting how much?
Right.
In that. So yeah. There's a whole thing. Next up though, why do you have a thing of Part-Tars here? Never mind. Next up.
Let's see. Conflicting claims leave Spider-Man fans unsure if a Venom video game is in development. So, while Insomniac Games never publicly announced a video game starring Venom, fans of the Marvel's Spider-Man games are currently left wondering whether such a game ever existed or was canceled, following conflicting statements from Miles Morales actor Najee Jeter and Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier. So, Venom game was referenced in the Insomniac leaks from 2023, but neither Insomniac nor Sony Interactive Entertainment ever officially announced such a Venom game. In an interview with the Love It Film podcast posted on April 24th, Miles Morales actor Najee Jeter claimed that a Venom project was canceled after Tony Todd, who portrayed the character in Marvel Spider-Man 2, died of stomach cancer in 2024.
Yep, I believe that is one of his last roles, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually planning that, because especially the way those games have been selling. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. Von Gloom's chat says 75 cents. Yes, we remember. We remember fondly. Next up though, Marvel Universe.
I remember. Hold on, I remember 60 cents.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can go to 25.
That was my entry into actively buying my own comics was 60 cents.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
you know what?
Having, asking for a few bucks from my mom and dad, pick up a comic or begging for a comic from the newsstand, they cost 60 cents.
Yes. Okay, so here's a question real quick. Your first actual comic that you bought, I'm going to assume it was Marvel or DC, right? Or it wasn't like an Archie book.
That I personally bought?
Right.
It was Marvel or DC.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah. Which is mostly the case, because I know usually the ones that are gotten for you are probably like an Archie book off the, or you may have wanted if you know, or if you were like me, like you were in
No,
Kmart.
I personally never started with Archie. That was from my sister.
Weird. Okay.
Right. I personally started with Marvel or DC.
Gotcha. Like
I don't
remember
remember exactly what it was, but
Right.
I definitely will tell you that it was Marvel or DC.
I think either for me it was like either Archie books and or some off of spinner racks, because you know they had the spinner racks in the stores right before you reach the checkouts.
Right.
And it might have been one of those packs of like, hey, here's like 5 books for $5 or something, or for a couple of dollars, whatever the case may be.
Right. It was probably like $3 back then.
$3, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Regardless, yeah. But man, the days. Anyway, Marvel Universe Gallery, 1990 to 1994 trading card collection hardcover. Is an oversized full cover hardcover that completely collects high quality captures of the vintage Marvel Universe. I should not be doing this while I'm talking about this, but Marvel Universe trading cards from 1990 to 1994. It goes into the history of them. And Marvel and Dark Horse is teaming up to basically bring you a book with all those cards in it. I don't know if they have the cards that I have, because I think the cards that I have, and I can't get to them right now anyway, were basically comic covers and not like the individual character cards, if I'm not mistaken.
I want to say it wasn't the Marvel Universe card set, because I think the ones that they're referring to are the individual character cards.
Right.
You probably have a separate different set, but not Marvel Universe cards.
Probably. Like I said, that's what I was saying. I was gonna pull it, because I know I got them in this drawer somewhere, but I had to pull them out later on to see what they actually were. But regardless, hey, if you want an art book with those cards and not actual cards, sadly, because I would have loved to see you. I thought I read somewhere they were going to actually do a reprint of the actual cards, like a new modern set of these cards, which would probably do halfway decent, I think. But yeah, but now there's a book for it. Maybe they will at some point. Who knows? Next up, though.
I saw this on the Hasbro app, on the Hasbro Pulse app.
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro is selling a $600 hyper-realistic Grogu animatronic toy. Let's see here. It's a 1-to-1 scale, so if you ever wanted to cosplay as Mendo and Grogu, it is a first of its kind premium animatronic. So you basically could care for, feed, or pet little Grogu at home. The Grogu packs in 4 motors, multiple touch sensors, microphones, an accelerometer, and 18 points of motorized articulation into its 14.6-inch tall frame. This Rolls Royce, I love the editorializing. This Rolls Royce of Grogu's responds to touch, motion, and sounds with more than 250 animations and sounds. You can literally pinch this guy's cheeks. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay.
Even come with macaroons or whatever the Star Wars equivalent that they call it. But
I was going to say, does he eat little? Oh, it comes with macaroons. It doesn't come with eggs. He likes eggs.
No, just a macaroon.
Yeah, that would be funny. Oh, he's wearing Mandalorian armor.
Yeah, because that's what he's gonna have in the movie.
Right.
Well, I think might have already had it, but I know they definitely showed off stuff for the movie that he has that in. So, but yeah, if you can figure out how to do a hover chair, also you'll be set. The hover cart, you will be set for that cosplay. Did you say when it's coming, or does it say when it's coming?
Wait, hold on. The first edition version is already sold out at Hasbro Pulse. I think I missed my shot. That's so funny. Other retailers appear to still have some in stock. Good luck getting that. Yeah, it's out there now.
Yeah, it says Ultimate Grogu is available at other places. We don't, you can, if you're watching the video, you know the other places that would do that, including sponsor of the show, Amazon. Right. But you know the places.
Right. So apparently, Ultimate Grogu won't ship widely until early 2027. We're talking about a limited run of first edition quantities of Ultimate Grogu that ship in late 2026. Which was selling out on Hasbro Pulse. That's why I spotted it on my. I was just saying I spotted it on the app.
Wait, was that you or me?
I don't know.
That was weird. I closed the thing, so it could have been me. I don't know. That was very weird.
No worries.
Either way, yeah, that's a thing, folks. Anyway, Justice League Unlimited, the role playing game, is a thing that you can get. There's a matter of fact, this article. Well, it's not an article, but it's basically the sale page at this site for it. Let's see. I'm not gonna go through all of this, but let's see. D20 Culture, through a licensed global partnership with DC and Warner Bros. Discovery, Consumer Products proudly presents Justice League Unlimited, the role-playing game. This marks the first official RPG to delve into the heart of the DC universe in almost 2 years, probably not counting that MMO. Let's see. They talk about their other stuff, including the Lord of the Rings one and Ben 10. But let's see. And they're patting themselves on the back for the job that they've done on this. It looks like, is Mark Waid involved in this? Yes, it is. So it's official licensed DC TTRPG, features legendary creator Mark Waid, because he's been the one doing a lot of stuff with DC lately, as writer and artist and creative consultant, built on an innovative gaming system developed in Brazil by D20 Culture.
This is Brazil.
I need to get that soundbite. But yeah, basically, it's a game set in a universe influenced by Amanda Waller's actions in the DC comic book series Absolute Power, which I believe that was also a Mark Waid thing. After a series of battles, the Justice League transformed, becoming the ultimate version. You see where this is going, folks. From a news satellite called The Watchtower, which is not new if you've seen the cartoon. The organization now welcomes all heroes of all. So basically, they took all that the Justice League Unlimited stuff and made it into an RPG. And of course, you can probably play as you can play as Amazon from Themyscira, a Kryptonian, an Atlantean, and a metahuman, extraordinary human, and or shapeshifter, cyber construct, magic wielder, or a mythical entity. The world is your oyster cracker. And some other stuff here. I'm not going to go through that. But if you're interested in it, you can check out the because there's a lot to this article. But you can check that out in the show notes for yourself. Next up,
Magic the Gathering Secrets of Strixhaven set has officially entered the history books, surpassing 2019's War of the Spark to become the biggest pre-release event ever. Wizards of the Coast announced the milestone on Twitter, adding that the celebration is far from over, with MagicCon Las Vegas kicking off on May 1st. I wonder if that's where Wang is right now.
I kind of wondered that also, because I know some people going to that. And I wish I should have asked him when he was still in the chat.
I can always text them. Strixhaven's pre-release events, which occur at registered game stores ahead of each set's release, also come with a clever book. Okay. That's, these incentives may have encouraged even more people to check out a pre-release than usual. Okay. There's
actually, I'm gonna go ahead and
stuff.
I'm going to go ahead and do this right now, so we don't have to worry about that at the end of the show. So yeah, speaking of the pre-release, I did not go to the pre-release, but I ended up getting a pre-release pack. of Strixhaven, or at least one of the houses of Strixhaven, which is, if people may or may not know, is basically like the magic, also a magic school setting. And they have 5 houses, guilds, whatever you want to call them. And this is one of them, Quantrix. And I got the pre-release because you can get.
I was about to say Gryffindor. Anyway,
I'm more of a Ravenclaw if that was going to be a thing, but fuck JK. But yeah, so that's the thing. I might end up, and I actually got a box of cards, Strixhaven's cards, at some point that I need to crack open, and I actually need to crack open them so I can sort them out and whatnot. But that's the whole thing. Back to action. Let's see. G.I. Joe Cobra face off in. You should probably have this one. In G.I. Joe Cobra face off in HeroClix Iconics sets. So it's 2 4-figure sets that are planned. Let's see. There's is a G.I. Joe HeroClix Iconics G.I. Joe and HeroClix Iconics G.I. Joe Cobra. Each feature 4 major characters from the franchise, packaged in a book-like display box with a front window to show off the figures. The 2 sets will be sold separately with an MSRP of $40. Let's see. Do we have all of the people? See, we got Duke, we got Cobra Commander for one side, we got Snake Eyes, we got Destro. Who else? Yeah, see, there's Duke, there's Scarlet. Okay. Roadblock. Okay. And of course, Snake Eyes. Of course.
why does Roadblock have that dumb gun?
He always had that big ass gun.
No, but that's not the classic one. That's like the sci-fi version. That's
Yeah, it's
not...
like a rail gun. Yeah, I don't know.
Lame.
And he's not that stocky as you normally would be either. So I don't know. That's weird.
Lame.
But yeah, there's a Snake Eyes, there's Cobra Commander, Baroness, Destro, and Storm Shadow, of course. Because I'm about to say I didn't think it was gonna be Major Blood. So yeah. If you are interested in that, I already set the price of each set, which is $40 each. Wait, did it say when it's coming out? It does not say, but hey, I'm sure you'll figure it out, find out. Next up, though.
Games industry pioneer and legend Louis Zocchi passed away on April 15th, 2026. Zocchi is a games industry legend whose contributions to the business are too numerous to name. He was an adventure games legend who was affectionately referred to by his peers as the Colonel, Major Lou, and the Godfather of Dice. His games industry career began after he served 10 years in the U.S. Air Force in the mid-60s. He worked with Avalon Hill and was one of the first editors of their The General magazine. He play-tested early war games like Bismarck, Afrika Korps, Jutland, Stalingrad, and several unpublished Avalon Hill titles. His credits for game design mostly include war games, Luftwaffe, The Battle of Britain, Alien Space, and Flying Tigers. He also designed a set of miniatures rules called Starfleet Battle Manual. Okay, he produced RPGs in the 70s. By far his most significant contributions to the game industry came in the realm of dice design. Dice design! Zocchi founded Game Science in 1974. He was the first to create polyhedral dice for the U.S. market and is credited with designing the D3, D5, D14, D24, and D100. I had a D100.
I don't think I've ever had a D100, but I definitely got a bunch of D20s and 10s and 6s and 4s.
The D100 was named the Zocchihedron in his honor. Okay. It looked like a little, the D100 looked like a little ball. I don't know what happened to mine, but it was pretty cool.
I would imagine it would be hard to see the numbers on that or see what it landed on.
Tiny.
Yeah.
It was teeny tiny.
I wonder if there's similar.
Zocchi was 91 when he passed.
I'm gonna have to go to my LGS and see if they have any. I doubt it, but I wanna see that if there's still any being produced. But yeah, rest in peace. That's interesting, actually. But Looney Labs to reprint Star Trek Flux game for the 60th anniversary of Star Trek. Let's see. There's going to be a limited reprint run of the 4 games. Actually, I think I might have one of them. I don't know how, but Star Trek Flux, Star Trek The Next Generation Flux, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. You know I'm gonna get that one if I've come across it, and Star Trek Voyager Flux. The reprints will be available in October. So Star Trek was added to the Flux line in 2018, which is not I think probably when I got whatever one I got. Let's see. The 4 games been unavailable, but still attracted interest from fans. Yada yada and yada. They will be. Let's see, all 4 games are also available in a 6-count countertop display box, as they would come to be. So next up, and lastly,
Q Workshop reveals the Lord of the Rings dice details. So Q Workshop has released more information about the upcoming launch of its extensive line of dice sets and accessories inspired by the Lord of the Rings. The new lines will be released on July 22nd, announced at the Gamma Expo earlier this year. The Lord of the Rings dice sets. The new line is officially licensed by Warner Brothers and will include at launch 15 dice sets and 7 dice pouches and a dice cup, all featuring artwork and styling drawn from the expansive source material. The sets and pouches are primarily themed to the principal regions of Middle-earth and the adventures of the Fellowship of the Ring. Okay. This might be fun to have just for fun, you know?
that was my thought when I pulled this article, and for you specifically, but definitely in general. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I still have like a pouch of dice, but this might be just, this could be fun to have, like the price point is halfway decent, like one set, like a special set for like 25 each or 45 each, depending on which ones you're going to kind of pony up for.
Right. Right. In fact, I just found one set of my dice that I had laying around here that I need. Oh, actually, both of them. Now that I think about it, because I forgot. I went on a weird dice thing a couple of years ago. So I started buying dice for no reason, and before I even do whatever. And of course, sometimes when you get those magic cards, they come with spin down dice. So you got dice out the yummy if you really want it. And of course, if you go into your LCS, they'll have the you could just grab.
Yeah, especially if they have any especially if they have any kind of gaming stuff.
Exactly, because you could either get them like this, or you could get like some Lucy's.
If you happen to unfortunately lose a couple, here or there, because the dice do tend to get lost. Look, here's my pouch of dice, like mixed dice.
Oh, nice.
I just had to dig that out of my file cabinet, out of my storage cabinet. So.
Of course, I partly wishes we could either do a campaign for either that Marvel thing or a D&D campain or at least a one shot or something. But I don't know if we're gonna have time, and I don't know who would DM it.
I for real have never. I haven't opened this pouch of dice in so long.
Oh, nice.
So long. That's crazy.
But, yeah, but shout out to the Godfather.
But you know what? You gotta love the sound and the feel of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The sound and the feel.
And in a lot of cases, the looks, because sometimes aesthetics mean a lot in dice. We're not trying to say you dice. If you're already a nerd, you already got a bunch.
Right. Like, and to be perfectly honest, I do miss my OG set from like when I was in junior high school and high school, because I did have a T100. I just don't know what happened to that pouch. It must have gotten lost to, whatever,
Right. That's my emerald green joints right there. May your dice rolls be ever in your favor, folks. Anyway, so we can go ahead and wrap this up for the news section with one last ad read.
Our last ad read of the night. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us and click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
All right, folks, that's it. We're out of here for the week. We'll be back next week. I don't remember if I don't think we have anything pressing, but if we do, I'm sure you can stick around to our socials, which are as followed. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter and Blue Sky. Why am I fumbling on my own shit? Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at Newsarama on Twitter and Blue Sky. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. You can find this here podcast on the Coleslaw Podcast Network, CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coleslaw Podcast Network SoundCloud page. And you can also find us recording, so I can go ahead and get out of the way. Recording every Thursday night. 9:30/10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on youtube.com/TheClickNation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts. Make sure to click like, smash that like button and hit that notification button so you know when we're on live.
Indeed. All right, folks. Like I said, the last episodes of Monarch, Star Wars, Maul, and the Daredevil are next week, so we'll have that for you. We'll be going into movie protocol at some point fairly soon, but not then. And more, of course, comic book news and goody stuff. But with that, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Oh wait, sorry, real quick, sorry. If you just happen to stick around for the last episode of the show and after the last episode show, I hope you enjoyed that little troop that was put together, because it took me a good minute to do, even though it's cursed. That's all I'm gonna say. But I hope you enjoyed it. With that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?